Everybody, we had another question come in from Ed Ziomek. He asked, what customer needs are my best customers? And I interpret this as what type of customer works best for you, prototype or production work. Let me know in the comments, Ed, if I got that correct. That's the way I'm interpreting it. So for my answer, it's I don't really have a specific need that's best. I try and go against the mold a little bit here, and I actively don't want to be a niche. I know a lot of guys say when you're starting a shop, you need to find a niche and grow in it, dominate with it. But I've built my shop to kind of be well equipped for a little bit of everything. Each type of work kind of has its own benefit. I want to make sure I can take advantage of all those benefits. And part of my mission with my shop is to be accessible, to be one of the more accessible machine shops out there. So let's go a little bit over like what the benefits are, prototype versus production type work, so you can get an idea of which type of one you'd want to go for. So prototyping, it's much more involved whenever you're working on it because you have to spend more time on the machine setting it up and programming, things like that. You do a lot more changeovers than you do actual cycle time on the machine. From the machinist in me, I personally find it more enjoyable. I get more problems to solve. You get a lot more variety. You can learn quicker if you're still learning how to machine. Prototype work can kind of speed up that process. And from a business standpoint, prototype work is usually higher margin because your programming rates and your setup rates are usually a little bit higher than your cycle time rates. And because the majority of the job is those two categories, your margin becomes a little bit more with that. But running a business only on prototype work usually means your backlog is never very long. When you're focused on prototype in a small shop, your backlog is maybe 2 to 3 weeks out at any point in time. So you're just constantly having to feed that machine. But nice thing as well is a lot of times prototypes can come with expedite charges, which is just an extra cash boost to help you push the job through the shop. Kind of lets customers buy their way to the front of the line type of thing. As far as production work is great because it's predictable. You can often get the machine going with longer cycle times, allowing you to do a little bit more while the machine is running and make money elsewhere in the shop while it's running. So production work makes it easier to run 2, 3, 4 machines at the same time because the machine might run for 20, 30 minutes at a time. From a machinist standpoint, it's not the most interesting because it's repetitive. You're just loading the part, load. No real changes there. It's not as fast paced, but it's nice for the business because it's predictable. Usually if you have a lot of production work, your lead time stretches out. You get a little bit longer. You get to know what you're doing in the future versus having to feed the business every week or so. And if you do it right, you can actually bring on an operator to run the job for you. You got to take that into account when you quote it, but it's another option there. In my business, I aim to have a mix of both. I want enough production work to pay the bills and keep the lights on, but I want enough prototype work to help fund our growth. That's kind of how I view it. So the long term, the predictable work pays all my regular bills, pays my electric bill, my rent, everything like that. Prototype work where it's higher margin and kind of quick wins, so to speak, for your cash flow because they turn so quick. Use that to fund growth, buy more equipment, buy more tooling, things like that. For a machine shop starting out, my recommendation would be to focus on the prototype work. Odds are starting out, you're limited in terms of capability, capacity, making it difficult to bid on production work. And something else is with production work, you have to block off your machine for longer periods of time, and that's really hard to shift into your schedule when you only have 1 or 2 machines to flow work through. With prototype work, though, you can also build the nice thing about prototype work as well when you're first starting out is you can build close relationships with the engineers and buyers, which usually leads to more work, more opportunities faster than production work usually does. Engineers love to find a small shop that can turn stuff quick for pretty cheap. A lot of times they don't even care as much about the price, they just want the service and the quick turn time. And a lot of times if you do that right, play your cards right, focus on building that relationship and not just doing the work. you can score some long-term customers. I've had customers follow me from job to job because I had that kind of relationship with them. Production type work, typically you get the contract, you get the order, and then there's no more communication until the job's done or they order the next batch. So, hope that answers your question, Ed. Anybody let me know if you have any other questions in the comments. See you in the next one.